Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Basketball Maestros podcast. Thank you for joining us today. Got a lot to talk about. The NFL had a little bit of a crazy week. Daniel will get to share his piece about the good old Raiders and Saints matchup. Very interesting matchup. A very surprising 24-0 shutout. Tuning into that game, as I said multiple times. Very low expectations, and my expectations were exceeded to say the least. I had a great time watching that game, so we'll talk about that.
Great to hear.
A lot of rants, mostly from Daniel's side, probably for a good amount of time, and then we will talk about the Brooklyn Nets, which yesterday was just all over the place. In my personal opinion, they look like kind of like a trash fire right now. So we'll talk about that more in detail. Um, do a little fantasy basketball check in. It's been going into week 3 of our fantasy basketball league. So we'll talk about our team's performances so far. And then, if time permits, we can talk about more surprising and disappointing teams so far in the NBA season as we keep chugging along through the regular season. So starting it off with NFL, Saints and the Raiders met in New Orleans for a matchup I was expecting wasn't going to be pretty, but it wasn't pretty for the Raiders. So the sides flipped. But Saints with a lot of injuries, as I mentioned last show, um, somehow held a Raiders offense to 0 points, and the Raiders not crossing the Saints side of the field till the last 2 minutes of the game. Definitely a great performance from our defense. Our defense has been solid for a good chunk of the year. It's just our offense has been mainly the issue with all our weapons missing and all that. Daniel will probably talk more about like the football aspect of it, but just from a casual football fan, it was very, very odd with the Raiders having those weapons like Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams. I believe I don't even know if he had a reception. I know he got targeted a couple times.
He had one for three yards.
So, um, personally, I don't know if it was play calling. I'm not sure because I don't really look at football games that deep in terms of analysis. But very surprising for an offense of the Raiders' stature to put up 0 points, especially against a struggling Saints team. But overall, generally surprised about this game. Not much to complain about from the Saints. They just did their thing, I guess. Not much I can personally take away from it. Andy Dalton played solid. Alvin Kamara had a very solid game as well. Had 2 receiving touchdowns and a rushing touchdown, so he basically just carried the load for the Saints. So love to see it, despite all the trade rumors that sparked up around him. Stay on the Saints for at least the rest of the season. We'll see how that looks in the future, but that's kind of just my short stint on this NFL week. This is kind of just Daniel's time to let out his anguish.
Alrighty. Good old Raider Nation. It's 24-0 on the road. And something I was telling Matt the day of the game is, what did I say last week? We cannot start slow, because regardless of whatever the Saints have, been doing the past weeks, giving up multiple 30-plus point games to other teams, you cannot winning in New Orleans is not the easiest thing. The Superdome used to be one of the hardest places to win back in the Saints prime. It used to be teams would go in there and there was no hope of them winning. And, Raiders start out flat as usual because for some reason, I just don't think we figured it out that, hey, we have to start games fast. We have to start games, not slow, not the offense not looking like we haven't played together once. And every single game this year, besides the Cardinals and the Broncos and the Chiefs game, we have started off slow. And even you can even argue the Broncos game we started off slow. And I don't know what it is to get this team to play like a full game of football for once in their lives, but it's just I don't know like what else we have to do. It's just 24-0 against a team that let 40 points up against the Cardinals. A team that let the Vikings march all over them, which, Vikings have a good offense, I won't lie, but still, it's a team that I think's giving up like around like 30 points a game before coming into this game. One of the worst rated defenses, and we're supposed to be one of the worst, best rated offenses. And we just come in there and we have a run game that has been doing excellent these past couple weeks. It just looks like we never tried it. We just never got Devontae going early. We just kept trying to throw him these little passes down the sideline, on these go routes. And I don't even know who the corner's name was. Something Taylor, rookie, just basically just destroys him, like locks him up. Like it's amazing to me how we don't try to get Devontae going early with little slants, little out routes, little comeback routes, anything. It's like the stuff that made him successful in Green Bay. It's like Josh McDaniels is like, wow, I have a really good route runner. Let me just send him on go routes and send him jump balls. Like it's amazing. And I don't have the all 22, so I can't look at it to see like, maybe the Saints are double. Like obviously he's probably getting double teamed. I mean that's obvious, but maybe the Saints are really just doing a good job of taking him away, or maybe just the plays aren't designed to go to Devontae to other people. Maybe Derek's just missing his reads. I don't know, because I simply just don't have that that tape, that film to watch. I don't know if the Saints are running cover 2, cover 3, cover 4. I couldn't even tell you, but regardless, we should not be getting destroyed like that in any aspects of where our teams are at the moment. And the fact that I knew the game was over when it was a 3rd and 1, and just beautiful minded, just offensive minded, just talented coach Josh McDaniels said, let's run a jet sweep to Devontae Adams, because why not? Why not? Because that's my brain. That's my offensive minded brain. Because I'm the guy gets stuffed. Absolutely stuffed when we have Josh Jacobs in the backfield on a 3rd and 1. Oh, guys, don't worry. 4th and 2. What are we gonna do? I'm Josh McDaniels, offensive mastermind. A fake punt.
That
Dude,
was a good one.
I looked at my TV and I've never been more pissed. I just can't. This team it's a disgrace. Max Crosby is the only one who deserves to be honestly, we should have traded him at the deadline. He deserves so much better than this dumpster fire of a team. This dumpster fire of an organization. And you think that it's just an off year, that doesn't happen. The Raiders will, you know, that just doesn't happen every year. Last year we lost 16-23 against the Giants on the road. And we were supposed to come to that game to win the game. We were hyped up. I think that year, the year before, we were 7-9, so people were expecting us to make a jump. And we go into New York and we just get destroyed. And yes, it was the week after, I think, the Henry Ruggs situation. So yeah, it was a little awkward, but I mean, still, I don't know. Raider fans definitely remember that New York game and how, annoying that was. And even later on in that season, we get blown out 14-41 at Kansas City. And oh no, we lost 14-41 at home. We lost 9-48 at Kansas City. And yes, we went on that big, cute little run last year, but I mean, the Raiders mid-season on the road are just not, they're just not that team. And I go look at a year before, 2020, nice good old COVID year. We lost 6-43 at Atlanta. Because,
Wow.
Raider fans, I mean, we're used to it, right, guys? And oh, don't worry, we almost lost 24-28 at New York Jets the next week, but we got bailed out by a little Hail Mary game winner because Raider Nation guys. Year before that, what did we lose? I remember it. 3-34 against the New York Jets. And then the next week we lost 9-40 to the Chiefs. Like it's just poverty. This team is poverty. It happens every year. The same thing happens every year where we go on the road where it's like, hey, the Raiders, they're gonna start going on a run. This is kind of where you expect them to go on a run. Get blown out or absolutely embarrassed. And the front office, the coach, the Ziegler, McDaniels, Carr, Adams are all like, like the pieces are there. We just got to keep fighting, got to keep working. No, you fucking don't. No, you don't. You guys are just terrible. You guys are ass. Okay? And, Raider fans, we're going to keep being ass until Mark Davis is not our owner anymore. And I've said this in a previous episode, but we have been mediocre ever since he took over. Ever since he took over. Since our Super Bowl in 2002, we have had a positive record. Matt, would you like to know how many times the Raiders have had an above 500, not like a 500 record like 8-8, an above 500 record since 2002? Spoiler,
I'd say
you
twice.
hold right there, baby. We had a positive record twice. 2016 and last year. And how many coaches would you think that we've had in that amount of time? Wow. Let me see. 4, 5, 6, 7. You were one off, Matt. We've had 9.
Dang. Almost.
And what do everyone blame that, Raiders Twitter is all like, oh my god, it's Derek Carr's fault. Like, dude, if we got rid of Derek Carr, we just were right there. No. No. As long as we have Josh McDaniels calling the plays, this team will get absolutely nowhere. Because Josh McDaniels, like I've said, guys, he's an offensive mastermind. He's not gonna change his, playbook to what benefits his players, what benefits his team, the skill sets he has. No. He may have Devontae Adams. You think he's gonna change his offensive playbook? No, because Josh McDaniels is an offensive mastermind. So he's gonna force Derek to learn his 5th offense in like 6 years, because that's just the position Derek's been under his entire career. And Raider fans just expect him to be like a Mahomes and a Josh Allen and dude, a Jalen Hurts. And what do all 3 of those teams have? They've had a consistent coaching staff with the same quarterback, and they've had better offensive minded coaches who have shown that they can call plays and call just have better schemes overall. Andy Reid, obviously one of the best offensive minds in the NFL. No wonder Mahomes is going to have success. Obviously, he's insane, but Josh Allen, Brian Daboll before he got hired in New York, and now Ken Dorsey's doing a great job in calling plays and playing to Josh's strengths. Same thing in Philadelphia. Nick Sirianni is doing a great job to playing to Jalen Hurts' strengths, keeping the pocket clean, letting him make the easy throws. But what does good old offensive mastermind Josh McDaniels do? Just don't play to the strengths to our team, because why not? Because we're the Raiders. So, honestly, I'm ready for another mediocre season. I mean, we're 2-5 right now, and the only way we make the playoffs is if we win out, realistically. And we're not beating Seattle. That's not happening. I honestly thought the Jaguars this week was going to be our biggest trap game this year, and this is the game that we are going to lose. But Raider Nation proved me wrong. They decided to make me depressed a week early. I mean, I hope we can beat Denver in Denver. But as you know, that this team, Derek doesn't like playing in the cold, so let's hope it's not cold. Don't think we beat the Chargers at home. The Rams are probably, Sean McVay is going to pull some bullshit and probably just be have an insane showing because, Raider Nation, baby. You know, should beat the Pats at home. Steelers in Week 16 in Pittsburgh. I can already see a loss there. Like, it's just, and we have the 49ers and Chiefs, which I don't see us winning either. So it's probably going to be another good old 7-9 or 7-10, like 8-9 or something around there. Because I don't know why I get my hopes up for this team ever, because it's just awful. And I don't know if I'm one of those people who want to get rid of Carr, because I realistically, with Devontae Adams and the weapons we kind of have, I don't want to wait for a quarterback to develop under that. Because let's be honest, like Raider fans, I just want you. I know probably no one will hear this take that's a diehard Raider fan, but guys, do you really want a young quarterback to grow up in an offensive core of Devontae Adams, who is above 30, Darren Waller, who can't stay on the field, and having his best receiver be like Hunter Renfro? Is that really where we want to go? Is that how we're gonna do it, guys? That's gonna save our problems? Because I guarantee you, if you put Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes in a good old Josh McDaniel system, they're not having the success that they usually have. And the only reason it worked with Brady is because it's Brady. Like, they were together for a long time, and they just had that chemistry together. And honestly, I kind of thought about the loss a little bit more. We're gonna be stuck with the same team next year because there's no point in moving on. So as long as Mark Davis is our owner, we're not getting anywhere, because that guy cannot hire a head coach. That guy, I think, has to take some sort of crack every morning. And
Mm.
this team is just, and I'll get ready to watch the rest of the season with no expectations, like I did last year. We made the playoffs, so let's hope that's how it kind of rolls out. But wow, this team is just a steaming pile of. You could finish the sentence, but honestly, I thought I'd be a lot more mad. But after the past couple of days, I've kind of just accepted that this team is terrible. Josh McDaniels is terrible, and organization is terrible. Because as long as that good old bowl cut is in charge, we're not going anywhere. So God bless the NFL. God bless Raiders.
Do you think they fire McDaniels after 1 year?
No, we're gonna stick with him until next year, because that's what good old Mark's gonna do. Also, no matter how many conversations Mark has with Josh McDaniels, because I saw after the game they had another lengthy conversation after the game in closed doors. I really want to hear what Mark is telling this guy, because dude, there's just never mind. We're not gonna get into it. We're stuck with this team for another year. Hooray!
God bless the NFL. So those are mainly Daniel's just NFL ramble right there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Um, let's move on to the NBA equivalent to a dumpster fire. The Brooklyn Nets. The Nets have been a circus recently. Um, I know before the season we talked about some NBA teams' biggest questions heading into the year, and we talked about the Nets. Are they going to be able to overcome the off the court stuff? And sure enough, the off the court stuff is already happening, and they're 7 games into the year. You have Kyrie Irving doing Kyrie Irving stuff with promoting anti-Semitic stuff on his Twitter and Instagram and all that kind of stuff. If you want to look more into that, you can. But honestly, I haven't looked into that situation too much. I just know that the film that Kyrie put on his social media was not the greatest thing to put out there. Supposedly, it's pretty offensive to Jewish people. So you have that, and then you're off to a very rocky start. 1-5. You lose to the Pacers. You beat the Pacers to get a second win, but 1-5. I expected Steve Nash would get canned, and sure enough, after the win against the Pacers, Steve Nash got canned the next morning, which was not surprising to me at all. I've said it multiple times. I don't think Steve Nash is a great coach whatsoever. When they hired him, I thought it was a very out of the blue hire. It didn't really make too much sense for a coach to coach the Brooklyn Nets. You want a guy with experience and a well respected coach, especially with two guys like KD and Kyrie. And they kind of just hired Steve Nash. He was essentially throwing himself into the fire because he has no coaching experience, especially at the NBA level. So just when that hire first happened, I wasn't very high on it, and here we are a couple years later, and he's out of the door. So horrible start. You can your coach. Not a great thing either. Not a great start for your season. And then Shams and Woj, I forget who specifically reported it, but they said that the Nets are going to do their due diligence in terms of their coaching search and finding their next guy to coach the Nets. And Jacques Vaughn would be their interim. Like, I want to say like 30, 40 minutes later, maybe even 20 minutes, it's reported that Ime Udoka, the suspended Boston Celtics coach, is the strong front runner to be the Nets coach. And an agreement is expected in 24 to 48 hours. It's been about 24 hours now. Still nothing official. But you have Sean Marks coming to the podium yesterday saying they haven't made a decision on their coach. But who knows if he's lying or not. But I have reason to believe that Woj and Shams are relying good information in terms of their coaching search. So who knows what's up with that. But focusing more on the I assume potential hire of Ime Udoka is very offsetting to me. You know, yes, he's a hell of a coach. He was a really great coach. Wasn't very familiar of him when he came to Boston. I just knew he was a Nets assistant at the time. But watching Boston Celtics games from time to time, you can tell he's a really good coach. Obviously, really good defensively at Boston. I think they're either one or two, I forget, in terms of defensive ratings. So obviously, he had the guys playing good defense. It's not the issue of being a good coach, whether or not he's a good coach or not, but what he did. And being suspended from the Boston Celtics for a year, obviously he did something pretty jacked up. The story was he had a consensual relationship with a female staffer in the Celtics organization. A lot of speculation began swirling. People were saying that it was consensual at first, and then things got a little out of hand. Nothing really confirmed that, but one can assume that something must have happened pretty significantly for him to be suspended for a whole year. So, hiring a guy who has a weird relationship with a staffer, in my opinion, honestly, I think it might have been a very bad situation. It may not have been consensual. Who knows? But either way, the problem is when it's being reported that they're going to do their due diligence when finding a new head coach, it seems just very, very odd to hire or come to an agreement to a coach in 20 to 30 minutes. Again, it's just being reported, nothing official yet, but the Nets are just in a very weird spot. I think hiring Udoka, whether before this whole incident, I think is a great hire. But obviously, he has this off the court stuff, which you really need to look into and see if that's a very serious issue moving forward. And I think seeing him being suspended for a year is a definite red flag. And just to be willing to hire him on the spot is very odd. And then your team is playing awful. Your Ben Simmons was a highly anticipated player coming into this year, and he has not looked aggressive at all. Barely average. I don't even know if he's had a double digit game yet in terms of scoring, but nonetheless, he's not looking aggressive offensively. He was a guy that averaged like 17, 18 points just off sheer will going to the rim and being aggressive in Philly. Clearly not the same player in Brooklyn right now. And as I said earlier, you have Kyrie with all his off the court stuff handling. The Nets are going to have to really think to themselves, when is enough enough? When are you going to cut ties? Obviously, he's in a contract year, but you're a team that wants to be competitive and compete for a championship. Are you going to be willing to deal with Kyrie for the rest of the year? And you're only 7 games in and stuff's already happening off the court. Who knows? But that's a very serious conversation you need to have. And I'm KD. I'm requesting a trade out again. Personally, I don't think he should have rescinded his request in the first place, but your team is just, and your organization that you're playing for is just a circus. I said it yesterday. I think I said it in like our group chats. I think the Nets are just a circus. What they're doing is kind of disgusting, honestly. Just malpractice. Wanting to hire a coach after what he did is just very surprising to me, especially in just such a short time span. Um, Maybe he doesn't actually get hired. Who knows? That still remains to be seen. But just a very, very weird situation, and we'll see what comes out of it. I'm interested to see if they still go through with this Udoka hire. But if they do, it's going to be a very dramatic season for the Nets, and a telescope is going to be even more on them than it is now. And KD, I would say you need to request out because, dude, this organization is just going up in flames right now. Just very subpar basketball being played, and nonetheless, just all the off the court stuff. And I think KD is just a guy that just wants to come in, play basketball, and go home and not deal with any drama going on with the team and all that stuff. So, shouldn't have rescinded his request in the first place, but I think even though it's 7 games in, I think it's better safe than sorry just to see if you can get out of Brooklyn now before things can potentially get worse.
Yeah, so this whole situation is just it's something we kind of anyone with a brain kind of saw this coming realistically. I mean, you knew coming into the season the team wasn't as good as you kind of would hope for building a roster around those two star players. There were question marks around Ben, around Steve. There were question marks around Kyrie, obviously, just with what's Kyrie going to pull this year. And then obviously there were questions about KD. How dominant can he be? And, how motivated is he even how motivated is he to even be there realistically? And basically all the narratives came true. Ben's terrible. Steve's a fraud. Kyrie pulled some more dumb stuff. I'm not even gonna really get into that, but um, I agree with. I saw a clip and Charles Barkley saying that he should have been suspended, and I kind of agree with that a little
I
bit. Not, I don't really. Yeah, I'll say I fully agree with it. I don't want to go too deep into it, just because it's just it's just Kyrie. It's just he's not the smartest human recently, you could say. And I watched his whole interview with. I'm pretty sure you saw the clip. I don't know if you saw the clip, but there's a reporter kind of asking him like, why'd you put it up, or why'd you promote it? And he kept saying, look, I'm not promoting it, I'm not doing it. It's like,
That was a pretty. He's
th-
definitely promoting it if you're sharing it on your platform, but
yeah, those are kind of the only little points I'll get into it. But basically, Kyrie's dumb, and then Katie, which I we kind of talked about it when he just kind of randomly just said it's fine, I'll play here, but he should have just put his foot down and say I am not playing, because it's not worth it. You watch his post game interviews and he just doesn't look like he wants to be there. It just looks miserable with all the questions he's being asked with like about the team and the drama with Kyrie, like, and then Steve and then Ben. And it's just like, dude, the guy looks like he just would rather die than sit there and answer his post game questions that he is forced to do. Or not forced, but I don't really know like the whole NBA thing with like people doing post game if they have a choice or not. But he's there, he's answering the questions. I mean, he may not be happy about it, but I mean, he just looks defeated. And this Nets team, they don't want to play. They had a really bad defense so far. I mean, their offense is all right. I mean, you see Kyrie every once in a while popping off, except last night. Uh, And you're just like, we already knew coming into the season that Katie and Kyrie were going to play well. It's about the rest of the roster, and they have not played well in the slightest. The defense, like I said, is just atrocious. And Ben Simmons, I'm kind of with what Kyrie said, that he was off of basketball for a while and he kind of got to relax. But this guy looks terrible, and it it's not even like coming back and being off. I know that's probably hard, but to look this bad and to look this kind of just off, just a little worrying. But I'll kind of give it a couple more months before I fully just say that he's even worse than he is now somehow. But and now this whole Steve Nash thing with him getting fired just adds to more of the drama, to more of like, you know, this team just can't really just focus on basketball. And to top it off, they want to hire a nice old man out of Boston who had a little incident at work. But
oh man.
I guess that doesn't matter to the Nets. Guess that's just a mistake. And I'm perfectly okay with him coming back after like a year suspension, or like, a year and a half, like him getting hired, or back to the Celtics. But like literally like a couple months after the incident, it just feels weird. It just doesn't feel right. And I saw Marcus Smart said something of how like he's just like weirded out by the whole situation. Because it's just awkward how like he was suspended, now he's like instantly getting hired to a rival. Like it's just like a weird thing to kind of happen. So, you know, I mean, just even more drama for Katie that he has to deal with. And I've had my fair share of criticism with Katie, but I mean, you are right when you just kind of say that Katie just wants to play basketball. And right now, the Nets are not just playing basketball. They have so
Uh,
much drama, so much, you know, news headlines about them that aren't about basketball right now. And, you know, I just feel bad for, Durant. Honestly, he should have got out when he had the chance. And, you know, and we'll just kind of go back to say that Mitchell, the Donovan Mitchell trade, and Gobert, the reasons that he is not out of New York right now. Because you look at those deals and you see those first round picks, and then, you know, owners, especially the Nets owner and GM, are probably saying, well, if they went for that many first, how many can we get for KD? So obviously that played a huge role in the way why he's still in Brooklyn. So I mean, um, we have to kind of see how this plays out. But I mean, we can be realistically looking at the Nets not even making the play in this year if they keep playing how bad they've been playing. So that would be a thing that I I would not have even expected. But once again, we are like a couple weeks into the season, so we're not gonna fully overreact. But there's definitely things that you kind of see with this Nets team, and you're just like, wow, this is not looking good. This is not, what we expected. So I mean, we'll see. But obviously, just kind of disappointing in Brooklyn, regardless of everything that's happened. But I mean, we kind of knew Steve was going to get fired. It was just a matter of when. And this early on is just not the greatest for your team, not the greatest for your locker room. But we'll just have to kind of see how it all plays out.
The Nets are just all over the place, and I'm very interested to see what comes with Kyrie, because I would hope, I would think that his time in Brooklyn is over. Um, don't know if anybody's gonna trade for him. Don't know if the Nets are gonna shop him, and let alone when it comes to free agency, I'm very curious to see who's gonna be willing to sign him because last summer he wanted a full max extension, I believe, and quite honestly, I don't think he's going to get that come free agency. Nonetheless, I don't think teams have that sort of money to offer him. So, going to be very interesting times for Kyrie uh, coming up, whether it be at the end of the season, before the trade deadline. We'll see. I'm sure the Nets, by game basis, will be more evolving moving forward. And you can argue that the current 8 teams in the Eastern Conference right now are probably better than the Nets currently. Um, you can argue Miami jumping up in that mix as well, making 9 teams. So could be very, very possible that the Nets have a very tall hill to climb because East is going to be very competitive, and honestly, I could see them ending up in the play-in, and that'll be interesting to see. But Nets are going to be a situation we'll keep an eye on moving forward. And kind of just thinking about it, you mentioned Rudy Gobert. I just want to talk about how disappointed I am in the Timberwolves. Like, the Timberwolves, I saw the other day that they lost to the San Antonio Spurs again, and they have such an easy schedule, such an easy schedule, and they play the Spurs 3 times in the beginning of the season, and the Spurs beat them twice out of the 3 times, which quite frankly should not happen at all. Like that just should not happen, and I just want to come out and say I'm pretty sure I saw it on Twitter. Um, no, Rudy Gobert liked that tweet, but I'm not sure what the tweet said exactly. But I think this is probably one of the worst trades I've ever seen in my lifetime. Like this trade just completely jacked up the whole trade market when free agency was happening. And I firmly believe if that trade didn't happen, I think KD was out of the door. I think he would probably go to the Nets or the Suns or the Heat, some other team like that. I think KD could have gone for 4 or 5 first rounders, if that. But we have Rudy Gobert going for that. And sure enough, this past game against the Suns, had a whopping 9.7 rebounds, took 1 shot from the field, and sorry, he had 7 points, 9 rebounds, and he took 1 shot from the field. He missed it. The rest were all free throws, which props to him. He's been a horrible free throw shooter, but went 7 for 7. And this is a guy we gave 4 first round picks for, 5 if you want to count Walker Kessler, which I would as a first round pick. So 5 first rounders for a very overrated center, which I still firmly believe that. And sadly, I got to watch Rudy Gobert take on my Lakers. but focusing more on the Timberwolves side, there was just times throughout that game where he was trying to be offensively aggressive, and pretty sure I said it um, on this podcast before, but he's just so he is just so uncoordinated offensively, and it's just very hard to watch. And there was times where he would get in the post on a mismatch and he just didn't know what to do with the ball, and he would just take a very awkward looking hook shot or layup. And overall, I just think this Timberwolves team, we're going to see what they're made of moving forward. And obviously losing the Suns, which I kind of expected. And now they play the Bucks on Friday, so that's going to be interesting. They play the Suns again in a couple days, the Grizzlies, the Cavs, Sixers, Heat. So they definitely have a lot of challenging games up ahead. So we're going to see what this team's really made of. But I get it's early in the season, but I just want to throw this. I don't know if you want to call it an overreaction, but I think at this point in time, I think it's just the whole perception was that the Timberwolves overpaid, and I think it's a definite overpay at this point in time because I'm not giving up 4, arguably 5 first rounders for a very mid center who barely averages a double double, and come playoff time will probably get rain off the floor. So I just wanted to go on that quick Timberwolves tangent. Shout out to my guy Ant though, fantasy player right there. He's had his solid games, but just the Timberwolves as a whole have looked very rough, mainly against the Spurs, and then losing to the Jazz in overtime a week or so ago. So Timberwolves, just wanted to get that off my chest, but I guess we can head into some fantasy check-in. So fantasy basketball. Currently in the midst of week 3 of our basketball or fantasy basketball league with our friends. Currently, for me, I am standing at 2-0, leading the league in scoring, FYI, coming off a very huge scoring week, dropping, let me look at my last week's score, dropping 1,700 points. It's a very solid debut for my team. And overall, very satisfied with my team. Currently winning by 42 points in my matchup so far in week 3. Just some quick shout outs to my team members. Shay.
If you want to be honest.
No. Shay, Gilgeous Alexander. Took him, was it 3rd round, I think? Yeah, 30th. 2nd in position rank for point guards, averaging a whopping 63 points, coming off of 72 back-to-back 70-point games against Dallas and Orlando. Shay has looked absolutely magnificent. I watched the game yesterday. He was straight cooking. Granted, it was the Magic, but he's just looked really good so far this year. And looking forward to more great performances. And he's been a little inconsistent in terms of scoring, but he's had a couple pretty solid games, mostly in the 30s for the most part. Another one I'm very surprised in. Coming in the year, Bojan Bogdanovic. I thought he would have been. I think when I first drafted him, he's kind of questionable because he's on the Pistons, and who knows if they're really going to use him. But then again, I thought they traded for him, so they definitely got to use him. And sure enough, he's their starting power forward. It's just been a steady scoring machine so far. Once again, up in the high 30s in terms of averages for fantasy points. So love to see it. Giannis, no explanation. He's just an absolute man on that court. So keep doing you.
Don't call him a madman.
And probably my last shout out. Um, my man Royce O'Neal, aka Royce to 5'9". My my last pick in the draft. Averaging 25 points, 17th ranked small forward, which very solid for a last pick in the draft. His shooting has been pretty awful to begin the year, but he's coming around, dropping three straight 20 plus games. So I think he's starting to find his stride there, dropping 36 fantasy points yesterday against the Bulls. So overall, I would say those are my standouts and some disappointments. I think I only have a couple. I'll start off with Jordan Poole. He was my one reach in the draft, and he's definitely shown why I reached a little too high. Um, Coming off a very poor shooting performance against the Miami Heat, only having 5 fantasy points isn't great after coming off a pretty good stint of stretch of games, but shooting has been questionable for Jordan Poole, a little up and down, but still relatively high on him. James Wiseman starting to concern me as well. Has gotten 14 minutes, 5 minutes, 13 minutes, 9 minutes. So don't know how that situation is going to pan out. Steve Kerr probably doesn't like him very much anymore, so could be a potential waiver, a droppable player in the future. But another disappointment, I'd say, Karis LeVert. You know, he had a very great game against the Boston Celtics. 76 fantasy points, 41 points in the game. Very great game. He's been kind of mid beginning of the year, and then he had that pop out performance. I thought, okay, he's going to turn a corner. Next game against the New York Knicks, drops 1 point, one basketball point, one IRL point in 29 minutes of playing time, which, coming off a awesome performance in Boston, and you follow it up with that is very disappointing. So, Karis, you better not disappoint me that much in the future because I see your potential. Just need to make it a little more consistent. So, I'd say those are probably my standouts and disappointing players so far, but can't really complain too much. Solid 2-0, top of the league, leading the league in scoring. So, can't really complain much, but yeah.
Oh, so Darth Vader's. We are solid 2-0 as well. And Matt is saying it's the highest score in the league, but we should look at the scores or the points scored, and that 2-0 team right below you is only like 60 points under you, buddy. That's all I'm saying. And that's my squad. We're the only two teams in the league at 3,200 points scored in the first 2 weeks. And, I would say, Matt, your team is surprising me a little bit. I knew that um Giannis would be insane, but I think the biggest parts for me, what you kind of said, did. Um Shea is popping off, and Bojan. I remember when I had him, and he was either a 5 points a night
Yeah,
or
he was
a
so
30 points a
streaky.
night, and now he is just the definition of consistent, which is what I expected when I had him. Obviously different, different ideas this year, but for my team, the duo of Trae Young and Devin Booker has been absolutely insane for me. Something that coming into the season, I definitely was a little skeptical about. But Trae Young right now is averaging 50 fantasy points. Booker is averaging 46. And, Devin's had a rough couple of nights, and Trey's obviously had his fair share of rough nights too. But, I mean, these two have been absolutely insane for me. Definitely, definitely kind of been where I want them to be. And then Jimmy's been my guy, dude. 46 points as well. He's out tonight. He's a late scratch. Apparently he has left hip tightness, so I hope he gets that tightness figured out because I kind of need you, buddy. I need you. But obviously the top three picks were pretty insane, I'd like to say. CJ, he's been a little streaky, but I mean averaging 38 points regardless. Christian Wood, I'm kind of hoping he picks it up. He's averaging 9 points these last 3 games, real life points, not fantasy points. But hopefully he kind of picks up his game. Um, that's kind of my one concern right now with the team. But my disappointing pickups, I'd say. Lowry's picked it up. He's averaging 30 now. Um, Tobias Harris, he is averaging 30, but from where I kind of got him, this is 100% a reach. Definitely not one of my brighter picks, but honestly, it was kind of a panic moment out of me. So I will take the blame there on that one. But regardless, things are working out. And a man that I don't even know why he's still on this team, Big Al, baby, averaging 17 fantasy points. Uh,
Uh,
I don't know why he's on this team. I think it's truly just because I look at the wire right now, and there is no one that I want. Like, there's no one that I'm thinking
true.
to myself, like, this is a guy that I can trust. This is a guy that will get minutes. And the only reason I really don't think I've taken or Horford off my team is just because when he plays, he's like guaranteed like 30 minutes. And regardless, will he do anything in those 30 minutes? Probably not. But um, he's just kind of that piece that I know will play. Um, so that's why he's kind of on the team. My last pick, hey yo, that's what I'm gonna call it.
It's whoa.
Ayo Desamu, the Bulls starting point guard. He's averaged 28 points, and he's been a nice little smile for me. He's been out these past couple games, so let's hope he. Actually, I think he just missed one game. He should be available for tonight. So, um, I mean, this team's looking good. Reggie's also really bad, only averaging 16 points. I don't know why he's here still. But some of my waiver wire pickups, they're absolute insane pickups. Dennis Smith Jr. I don't know how he just randomly remembered to play basketball, but I'll take it. Thank God he's popping off. And then Kenyon Martin Jr. He's only averaging 21, but he's kind of streaky. He'll get his high 30, his high 40 game here and there. So he's just kind of there. He averages around like 25 minutes a game. So that's another steal we'll take. But whenever Jaron Jackson Jr. comes back, that'll be a nice little addition to the squad. I'm excited to see how he fits in, see if he isn't um completely washed, hopefully when he gets back. But no, this team's looking good. I'm honestly a little bit surprised with some of my players. Isaiah Stewart surprised me. Didn't expect him to play so good. Dort's a little streaky. One night has -6, the next night he has 40. So I don't really know what's happening there, but no, I'm really excited to
Uh,
see how this team keeps playing. I haven't really thought about trading anyone. The only people I do want to trade obviously are Reggie and Al, but no one's gonna take them.
I
So
know.
they're just gonna kind of stay there unless I package them with someone else, which I'm pretty content with my team. But right now we are playing Brian Judge, another friend of ours. His team's a little injury filled right now. He is De'Aaron Fox, who's out, Terry Rozier out, LeBron day to day, Devin Vassell out, Isaiah Jackson day to day, and Terrence Ross day to day. So let's hope those day to days keep up for a little bit longer because I'd like to start off 3-0, but I just want to point out that last week was a little scary for me. I put up 1,600 points. My leading scorer was Jimmy for the week with 191. My opponent's leading scorer was Luca with 316 fantasy points
Jesus.
for the week. And I
Jesus.
got to experience it. Luca is absolutely insane. He outscored Giannis by almost 100 for the week. And I remember Giannis had like multiple 70-point games, which is just absurd to me. So, I mean, definitely happy that my team stepped up last week because scored 316 fantasy basketball points by yourself is just wow. So thankfully that kind of went my way, but I'm very excited to see what happens this year. I'm really confident in this team, and um let's see, when do me and Matt play each other?
We don't play for a very long time, I'm pretty sure.
We don't play until the end of November, beginning of December. November 28th is our matchup. It'll be pretty silly. Oh wait, I have Brody next week. Dude, why am I playing like two good teams back to back? Hopefully we're both undefeated by the time that comes, because that would make it pretty silly. Pretty entertaining. But just hope my players can stay healthy. Just hope Jimmy gets that hip sorted out. And yeah, I just need Big Al to start feeling young again, because he's averaging 8 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists on the season. So need him to start feeling better. So, and no, this team's been a blast. This team's been very, very fun. Very makes me very happy.
I just looked at Luca and he's averaging 75 fantasy points. Jesus.
Yeah, such a headache, because literally
97.
he outscored 3 of my players. He had Luca for one night, and it was a night where he had the 40-point triple double, and he almost outscored. I had like a 5-1 player advantage.
Wow.
He almost outscored all of them, and I was like, dude, there's no way I'm gonna lose to Luca, man.
Luca
But we
Magic.
prevailed.
So that's our little fantasy check-in. Got like 3 minutes left. We can jump into some game predictions on Friday. So pretty decent amount of games, but I need to go back and count up all my predictions so I can give like an official record of how well my predictions are going. But kicking it off with Cavs at Detroit, I'll take the Cavs. Heat at Pacers, I'll take the Heat. Knicks at Sixers, hopefully the Sixers won that. We need to start picking up some wins. Nets at Wizards, I'll take the Wizards in that one. A little upset there. Bulls at Boston, I'll take Boston. Hornets at Grizzlies, I'll take the Grizzlies. Clippers at Spurs, I'll take another upset. I'll take the Spurs. Raptors at Mavs, I'll take the Raptors. Warriors at Pelicans, I'll take the Pelicans in that one. The Warriors have looked pretty rough. Bucks at Timberwolves, I'll take the Bucks. Blazers at Suns, I'll take the Suns because Dame is still out at the moment. And a great matchup between the Utah Jazz and the LA Lakers. The first of two meetings. They play each other in a couple days in between, but that matchup, hopefully the Lakers can win that one. But the Jazz currently at 6-2, and it's very likely that the Jazz can win that matchup. But I'm gonna do a homer pick and take the Lakers.
Alrighty. I will take first matchup, Cleveland at Detroit. I'm gonna take the Cavs there. Miami at Indiana. Hopefully Miami wins. New York at Philadelphia. Hopefully the Sixers. I'm gonna take Sixers. Brooklyn at Washington. Um, Even with all the stuff going on, I mean, no, the Nets are really bad though. Uh, do the Nets play today? No, they don't. Screw it, I'll just go Wizards. I mean, the Nets are they're just nah, just Wizards. Jesus. Chicago at Boston. I'll take silly Chicago for cool little upset. Charlotte at Memphis. I'll take Memphis. Clippers at San Antonio. I'll take the Clippers. Raptors at Dallas. I'll take Mavericks. The Warriors visiting the New Orleans Pelicans. Warriors have been kind of struggling recently. They're on a back-to-back here. They play Orlando the night before, so I'll take the Pelicans. Little upset at home there. Bucks at Minnesota. I'll take the Bucks. Portland Trailblazers at Phoenix. I'll take the Suns there. And then the Utah Jazz visiting Russell Westbrook and the Los Angeles Lakers. So I'll just go safe pick. I'm taking the Jazz. Jazz Nation, baby.
Love how you introduce the Lakers by just saying Westbrook and the Lakers. Wow.
His team.
Alrighty, so that will do it for this episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. However you tuned in, whether it be University Pulse or YouTube, thank you for checking us out. If you're new, we go live every Friday from 4 to 5. You can check us out on all our socials at Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Going to be more active on TikTok. All ats are the Basketball Maestros. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Take care.